Well, good evening. Welcome, everybody. We want to thank you so much for coming out for our public candidate forum this evening. We're very encouraged to have our candidates running for all of the different offices that are going to be coming up here at our general election on April 5th. Have agreed to be with us tonight. If we can give them a hand and just say thanks to them for coming out. Due to the positive response from our candidates, we do have a tight time frame this evening, and so we have divided up into 4 segments. We're going to be hearing from some of the members of our school board. We're going to be hearing from those running for the city council at large in districts 1 and 4 as well, and we will hear from our 2 municipal judge candidates as well as our mayoral candidates this evening. So because of the extended time frame that we have, just a few housekeeping items. I'm assuming that many of you might need to use the restroom at some point in the next 2 hours or so. Feel free to do that. They're right out there in the lobby, and we just ask you to be mindful of any potential interruptions as you come in and out. If you have any kids, which I don't see any here, but if you need a place to go with your child, if they've become what children often become sometimes. Feel free. Our chapel, which is straight out to your left, also has a live feed going in it as well, that you can always go there and still watch it as you'd like. We'll try to be out by 9, but we'll just see how much fun we're having this evening. And because of the time, again, we're not going to actually introduce a biography of each candidate, but if you'd like to go see the website we put together, votestjoe.com, all the candidates have submitted their bios, and they're all there, as well as information on those candidates. And so we will now invite the school board candidates that are here. I don't know if they all showed up or not, but those who are here, we're going to invite you to come on up. Your names will be on the tables here, and if you guys, or you ladies, would come up, that would be wonderful. We'll start there. Yeah, you can move down there. That's fine. Okay, so we have several questions that we'll give you each, and because we have a little more time with just the 2 of you, we'll give you two minutes to answer these questions, and if we want to come back to any of them when we're done and we have some time, we can come back to those as well. The first question, these questions have been compiled via online submissions, and a number of people gathered together to talk about several issues that are important to many of the people in our community regarding the schools. Sadly, there's a general narrative in our community that our school district is declining, and schools are falling into disrepair, teacher salaries are unsustainable, and the quality of education in some cases seems to be falling by the wayside in many people's opinion. Do you see any validity to these points? And what would your top priorities be to help build integrity and excellence into our school systems? We'll start with Zara.
Well, hello everyone. I just first would like to thank Vote St. Joe for inviting me to be a part of this forum. I would like to say that there is some truth to that statement. I think that we are at a point in our public schools where we need to really focus on increasing our teacher support, ensuring that our kids are reading at grade level, and building up our community participation. I would do that by first listening to our teachers and staff on a day-to-day basis, then creating a support system around each individual issue. We can ensure that our kids are reading at grade level by increasing our reading programs and building up our reading campaigns. Also, I would get community participation by supporting the events that bring our community together, and also keep an open line of communication with our community.
Thank you. Kim.
I so agree with much of what you said. The emphasis is about our children and how we
Kim, could you
improve
just
their
pull the mic a little
education.
closer to you? Thank you.
I too would like to see a lot more support for our teachers, who probably in the past couple years have become very weary, tired, having to move back and forth out of the classroom to virtual learning. Boy, that has to be hard on them. And then to keep up with the individual students, some of those students who don't take time to do the lessons if it's virtual, who don't have the support at home. So I think I like those programs where the students get the extra help. The pull-out program, reading programs, math aids, paraprofessionals in the classroom who would also help teachers come alongside them and encourage them, be helpmates with the teachers and the students. I do think we get a bad rap that the school systems are declining, but it's not for lack of effort in the classroom by the teachers. And parents, because of this pandemic, have, I think, have taken a larger role in the education of their students, and it would be nice to keep that up, to encourage their participation in the classroom, in extracurricular, in coming alongside the teacher, finding out what the teachers need, what the school needs, and just being available to the teacher and to the schools themselves.
Thank you. I'm going to jump to an online question we got from Andrew from District 2. And he asked a question, in your opinion, with whom does the ultimate responsibility of a child's education rest? Izara?
I would say it would be a joint effort between our public schools and the parents.
Ultimately, I think it's the parents' responsibility. With the school coming alongside that parent, I do think our parents need more say in what is being taught to their students, not directing the teachers how to teach, but encouraging the things that they teach our children. So I think the ultimate is on the parents and how involved they are in their child's education.
Izara, how would you keep a transparency and accountability to the curriculum that is being introduced into the school systems so that parents are keenly aware of what's being taught their children?
I think I would invite them to, like Kim said, participate in our schools. We have to keep an open line of communication with our parents and encourage more PTA involvement. I also think that we can post stuff as a school district in our website or Facebook so they're able to see what is being taught to their kids. And if they have any questions, we can ask them to elaborate. I would also like to make parents being able to volunteer an easier process. I know for parents, they have to submit background checks at their own expense. So I would like to see the district be able to provide a cheaper background check, or at least partner up with someone who could provide one that would give a discount to parents. That way it wouldn't discourage them to be involved.
Thank you. Kim, we'll start with you on this one. Education and services to special needs students can have a direct impact on a large number of families in the community. Through what you have observed from your seat, do you think our school district is doing effective in this area of education, or are there policies that you would pursue to see success in this area?
I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that question because I haven't seen enough. I know there are times when special needs students are left behind. I know there are times when those teachers who teach those students feel overwhelmed in the classroom or in getting help with those students, finding curriculum, finding someone to come alongside, whether it's a paraprofessional, a parent, someone who understands the needs of those children. I think it's a huge area where we need help. I think there are plenty of people in this area to fulfill and to help those teachers with the needs that they have. But I'm not sure, I haven't been in enough of the classrooms to fully appreciate what's really needed there.
Thank you. Zara, would you like to answer that question as well?
Yes, I would like to see students who are in need of an IEP be reached at an earlier age. I am an employee with Progressive Community Services, which is a company that ensures that kids with disabilities get the care and resources that they need. So I will always advocate for kids with disabilities, and I would want to increase the support for our support staff in that area.
Right. This is another online question we received, and I'll give this to both of you. Nazara, we'll start with you. Schools today have become highly integrated into students' healthcare decisions. Do you believe it is ever acceptable to withhold physical or mental health information about a student from their parents? If so, in what instances? Please provide an example.
Now that is a complex question. We would have to look at different, all the details on a specific issue, but I think on a case-by-case scenario, the school should be able to provide those questions if they feel there's a concern for a child's health.
Okay.
I can only think of a few circumstances where a school should not tell the parent. If it has been noted, if there has been records kept of a child's abuse at home, perhaps then. But I think we take, I think our students, we ask them to be 18 to vote. We make sure they are 16 to drive, and they have to meet other criteria in other ways. But for a school to withhold health information from parents who are their caretakers, I don't find that as positive. I think it's on the parents. I think it's up to the parents. I think it's up to the school to bring those parents in and make it a joint effort. But only under a few circumstances would I say the school withhold that. Otherwise, that's on the parents. They must tell them.
Thank you. This next question will be directed to both of you, and Kimberly, we'll start with you. COVID-19 policies in schools across the nations have been a dividing point in many communities. Do you believe the school board's role should be to create and enforce policies, wear face masks, receive vaccines, or other regulations that may oppose their personal health care decisions?
I don't. I think whether you choose to be vaccinated, whether you choose to wear a mask, that's the freedom that you have here. I think it's overstepping our bounds, because when the parents are responsible for everything else, they know their children well, they're their major caretakers. I think they would know what's best for their children. I do know there has been trouble with this, and it has become divisive. But I think it should be the parents' responsibility. If they feel their child, if the child's health is in danger, hold them out for a while. Wear a mask. Vaccinate them. But I don't think we should condemn those who choose otherwise.
Okay. Zara?
Well, I know that these past few years have been difficult for all of us. Nobody expected COVID and having to quarantine. And I do know that young children learn to talk by reading lips. So we have to consider everything when we talk about mask mandates. I do believe that they provide a layer of protection, but I do not believe that they should be mandatory.
Thank you. And just a note to the audience, just due to our time, if we can hold our applause until the very end as we dismiss the candidates, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Another question for both of you. Across the nation, we've seen school boards play a significant role in creating policies that deal with human sexuality and gender identity. Do you believe the school board should be encouraging sex education that deals with the topics of homosexuality and transgenderism? Secondly, would you support policies that allow students to use restrooms, locker rooms, or participate in sports based on their preferred gender rather than their naturally born gender? Izara, we'll start with you.
So public schools is open to the public. I believe everyone is entitled to a safe learning environment, but I don't think it's up to the district to endorse political or social views. And I would just like to say that when we look into implementing any policies that regard these situations, we have to see how it's going to affect all of our students, not just a certain portion.
Thank you.
Right.
Kim?
I think it's way overstepping their bounds. I know and have heard of school systems where they teach preschoolers through all elementary grades about sex and about the issues that you're talking about. Most of them are learning to tie their shoes. Most of them are learning their ABCs. And isn't that the parent's job? Again, I think the school system is overriding the parent's privilege and wonderful assignment and responsibility to teach their children about sexuality. It isn't the school's job. And I think that I agree with you. I think there are several safety issues. I think when we start presuming on our kids, I think of our middle schoolers. They already wrestle with so many things. They wrestle with that identity. We can't push them one way or the other as a school. I think that's a delicate spot for the parents to come alongside and encourage and talk and have that open communication where they can talk about those issues at home, where it's private, where they don't have to worry about competition with others at school or someone's hearing my innermost thoughts. Wow. I think that is rough ground when a school district interferes.
Thank you. Another question that's come in from online. Recently, 3 school board members in San Francisco were recalled for neglecting their commitment to education excellence and using their authority to blatantly push liberal ideologies. What do you see as the school board's roles and responsibilities? Should they primarily address educational issues, or should they also seek to solve social issues as well? Izara, we'll start with you.
I think the role of board members is to be a part of the Board of Education that has a bird's view on our district. I think we have to ensure that everyone is following the policies, beginning with our administration. I don't think that the school board needs to be part of the social and political places, but I do believe that also the role of a board member is to be the biggest cheerleader for the public education. Yes. We need to highlight the best things that are going on in our district. I think right now people are so focused on the negatives, and we're not looking at all the great things that are going on right now with our sports, with our band and our theater. They're thriving, and board members need to focus on bringing those highlights, but also implement the policies and let teachers and administrators be able to do the job pretty much. You know, we're just here to make sure everything's working correctly, but cheer our public schools on.
Thank you.
I so agree. The children are the focus, not politics, right? Not politics. So educate, educate, educate. That's our focus. To come alongside, like you said, the administrators, the teachers, the staff. That's our focus. And wow, the things we can do. You know, when you were talking about those extra things, the bands, the promoting math bowl or something like that, that's a great opportunity for the school board. But to enter the political zone, I think that's beyond us.
Yeah. Well, as we switch gears a little bit, when it comes to the funding of public schools, we had a question come in online. Should parents who do not have students in the school district still be paying taxes that support the school system? Zara, you can start.
I would like to say absolutely. We need to invest in our community. Absolutely. The things that our kids in our public schools are going to do is going to affect everyone, our community as a whole. So, of course, even if you don't have a kid in the district, it's very important for you to invest where you live. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, this is community. This is community. And that's what we want to build together. It is a community with the students, even if it seems unfair. Still, what a great way to participate in the lives of children, even if you don't have them in your own home.
Wonderful. There has been talk in the past of consolidation of high schools, building of new schools, that hasn't quite garnered the necessary support to move forward. Do you foresee the need to make improvements in the grounds or the facilities, or to potentially see new schools built soon? And how would the school board potentially be involved in that process? Kim, we'll start with you.
Boy, there's a long history between the south end and the north end. And it would be difficult to unite them under two less banners. Now, even though I know that and understand it, I so appreciate the history that comes from those areas of schools. So if we can't come together and build new schools, we've got to put money into the schools that we have. We have to incorporate greater maintenance, repair, upgrade, whether it's the computer systems or air conditioning, whatever needs the upgrade. If we can't come together as a larger community and shrink the number of schools, then I think we have to enlarge our thinking at each school and put the money where it's necessary.
Thank you. Zara?
I would just like to say that I believe that we need to let the community decide. I do know that we have a budget to take care of deferred maintenance in our buildings, and I would be a supporter to see if that needs to be increased, that we would do that.
Great. On a personal level, and when you look at the current structure for investing in our teachers, how would you see a strategy forward to maintain and keep talented, excellent teachers, and what are the greatest hindrances to potentially great teachers leaving our school district? Zara, you can start.
I think the greatest hindrance is that our teachers and staff don't have the support from our district. I think a lot of them feel that their work environment is not the best. I know for a fact that people don't leave because they don't have enough money or they're not getting enough money. They leave because they're not being treated right. So we need to start listening to our teachers and staff on a day-to-day basis and really not just listen to them, but implement what they're saying and create the support system around each individual issue. I think our teachers are the backbone of the district, and without teachers, we wouldn't have students. So we need to start taking care of them and listening to them on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, wow. We do need to support our teachers, encourage incentive programs. They do need our support, not just at the community level, but within the school system itself, to encourage through I don't know, there could be all kinds of incentives to keep the teachers, to retain them, but to come alongside them in the classroom. And again, community, that's us. To come alongside them in the classroom, to support them, to understand, to hear them, listen to what they tell us, what's difficult in teaching those students, what's easy, how can we better the information that the kids are taking in. That's our job as a community. It's our job as administration. All of that is important in retaining good teachers. They need us. They need us desperately to come alongside.
Thank you. This is a question that we're going to ask all our candidates tonight, but moral and ethical leadership is healthy for a community. Where do you derive your moral standards? How do you determine what is right and wrong in the decision-making process? What is a baseline for you for what is good and what is evil? Izara?
Well, integrity, compassion, and honesty is what I bring to the table. So I will always abide by those rules. I think I'm a mother of 2 kids. I love our teachers. I love our public schools, and I love our youth. So I will always do what's best for them. And I believe that we need to implement the policies that are going to help ensure that our kids are, or not our kids, well, our kids too, read at grade level, increase teacher support, and bring in community participation, but always do that with integrity, compassion, and honesty.
Thank you.
I like those words, and they're found in Scripture. The Bible is foundational, and it seems we have left a lot of that behind. We have forgotten where to go for faith building. So I think for me, my faith is foundational. That sets my course. That's my plumb line in looking for integrity and honesty and the things that the Scripture compels us to take on, as Jesus Christ says. So that's my plumb line.
Thank you. In 30 seconds or less, I'd like to give you both an opportunity to share why you believe you would be the best candidate for the position of being on the school board. Kim, we'll start with you.
I was hoping she'd go first on that one. Because I could just say ditto. Oh, I don't know. It's so hard to think that we're the best at something. I offer a love for your children. I have had a lot of experience. We have had a great military life where we have lived in so many different places and seen so many different schools and communities, and the ones that come alongside their schools, the ones that are impacted tremendously by parental involvement. And some of those were military schools, some of those were not. Some were in Italy, some were in Guam, places where you'd have to wonder, really, they have school in Guam? But they do. And it has just been a wonderful experience for me to be able to be a part of those educational systems, to have such experience in those cultures, in those communities, with just everyone that's crossed our path through this military life. And I don't know, I've been in the position from paraprofessional to coach to vice principal to teacher to college professor. So there's a gamut of education opportunity that I have been a part of. And I just love kids. And I'm willing to do what it takes to improve our school system and work with our teachers and just be a part of growth and what is going to help St. Joseph's school system improve and grow.
Well, my goal is to be a part of the Board of Education to create a safe and effective learning environment that's going to enhance our community. My top 3 reasons for running are to increase teacher and staff support, ensure our kids are reading at grade level, and help restore our community relationships. I think there's a lot of potential in the district and there's a lot of work to do, but I'm here and I'm ready to work. Vote Garcia April 5th. Thank you.
Izara and Kim, we're thankful that you joined us. Let's give them a hand. We'll now invite our 2 municipal judicial candidates. We have Ted Elo and Terry Loudon up to the stage. Thank you both for being here. Our first question has to do with the safety of our community. The implementation of justice within a community can directly affect factors such as crime rates, drug rings, and road safety. Do you believe there are areas of needed improvement within our local court system? And if so, what are your top priorities? Terry, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. And there are several areas that need to be improved. For one, currently, the municipal court probation system is non-existent. They say they're on probation, but there's no checks and balances. There's nobody checking on them. If they get another violation, they're rarely ever violated on their probation. So if you have terms and conditions of probation and you don't enforce those just kind of become more like suggestions, and suggestions are often not followed. That's a problem. It's not good for the young defendant that maybe needs some guidance, and we can intercede in the early stages, because municipal court is much like a community. It's like a neighborhood. It's a smaller court. It's a time that we need to get in and intercede and get programs. We want everybody to be successful on probation, but there also has to be consequences, and currently there's not, and that's unsustainable. Additionally, how we try to collect the outstanding fines is unsustainable. We cannot take our police officers off the street for 2 or 3 hours at a time for a $50 collection fee. We need them out there for safety, to help people in car wrecks, to stop, the larger crimes going on. In state court, they went to where they turn it over to a collection agency. That's more what I'm looking at, but it definitely needs reformed.
Thank you. Ted?
There are a multitude of things that can be modified or changed for the better in municipal court. The probation system is definitely one of them. Other things that I would like to examine after I find out what is available and become more familiar with the court. As I've said in front of other groups, I would not intend to make any changes for several months until I get familiar with the job. It doesn't mean I'm not taking everything in. I certainly am. but I want to see where we are to see where we can go. And in doing so, I might discover something that I didn't even realize. I look at the potential re-implementation of a homeless court, but the agencies that are willing to help the city run that have to be able and willing to do it. The potential re-implementation of several other programs that were here in the past, why aren't they here now? I don't know the answers to those questions, but we need to, but we need to get in and get more information. I'll be in a position to find out if this program that worked 5 or 10 or 20 years ago can work now, or if we can team up with somebody else. So there are things out there that are unknown, and I think that something like that may end up being the item that can best change and alter municipal court for the better, something that perhaps is unknown or not well known at this time.
Thank you. The justice system from the lowest courts to the highest requires integrity and a strong moral compass. As an individual and a judge, where do you drive your moral and ethical beliefs? Ted, we'll start with you.
My moral and ethical beliefs are founded on the premises of this country, and that's the traditional Judeo-Christian values. They're very strong for me as a person who regularly attends church, and that's my foundation. That's where I learned right from wrong. That's where I learned forgiveness. That's where I learned other things that will come into play in making the proper decision as a court or as a judge with the input of other people who have knowledge that may be superior to mine or may complement what I am doing. And it's that one premise right there that I feel would drive how I will act as a judge.
Thank you. Terry?
Well, I'm not originally from St. Joseph. I'm originally from Andrew County, and I'm a country girl, a farm girl that came to live in St. Joe many years ago. My parents are who taught me right from wrong from the very beginning. And my Sunday school teacher that lived on this, just down the road, and everybody in the community and small communities, because everyone knows you, and what you say and what you do matters. And that's how I was raised. And so, it was just very much instilled in me from the very beginning about being truthful and being honest, and knowing that if you're not, everybody out there will see you and know that you're not, and you don't bring shame to your family name, and you do all those things that you're supposed to do, whether your son teacher is standing there or not, because somebody's going to see you. So I credit, of course there's, church and school and all that, but it's my parents taught me, and I have a strong compass. When something doesn't feel right, it's not right. It's not usually all that hard to tell right from wrong, and just being honest. And if you're not sure about a rule, just look it up. Life isn't as hard as people want to make it out to be.
Thank you. Many people in our community, based on a survey we did at votestjoe.com, seem to agree that homelessness, panhandling, drugs, and petty crime are increasing and starting to plague our city. As judge, what part could you play to help curb some of these issues?
Okay.
Terry, we'll start with you.
Okay. Setting the social values and the ordinances or the laws for the city is up to the city council. As judges, all we can do is listen to the evidence that's presented and be fair to everybody who comes in front of us, whether they're homeless or a millionaire. Everybody treated with the same respect and given the same respect for their due process that they're entitled to, and then come to a judgment. And that judgment has to fall within the range of punishment that is set out in the ordinance, or in some cases, because our ordinances haven't been updated, what the state law allows. So as far as taking proactive measures, it's not the place for a judge to do that. The judge is to be fair and impartial and to enforce whatever is brought in front of them. You know, the prosecutor has to file it. There's law enforcement that also enforce, but we judge based upon the evidence placed in front of us in a fair and impartial manner. I will be open to the full range of punishment for some crimes that in the last several years, it's not an issue that you're going to get the full range of punishment. You don't get punishment. And so while I must follow the law, I will follow the law, but I will, in following the law, consider the entire range of punishment.
Ted.
Thank you. This dovetails a little bit with what I said previously about things that the court can do with other people and other entities as far as the homelessness issue and the potential to reestablish a homeless court to help that segment of the population. When it comes to petty theft, petty has different definitions for different people. But one thing is for certain is if you're in municipal court for your third or fourth or fifth municipal stealing charge, something's not going right. If you're stealing cheese and diapers, that's one thing. But if you're stealing clothes from every retailer in the community, over a course of years, and that case, for whatever reasons, is still in municipal court, as Ms. Loudon indicated, the full range of punishment needs to be taken into consideration, including the potential of confinement in a county jail of some of these individuals who continuously violate those particular statutes or ordinances, of the city. It's not something that's done very much. I'm not saying that it needs to be done a great deal more. I'm saying it just needs to be one of the tools that is exercised when needed, when you're up against those people that you've already given or have already been given, not one, not two, not three, but 4 or 5 chances, have been fined over and again and have not paid that fine. And you need something to get their attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith-based organizations and churches have a rich history in this nation of being involved in dealing with societal ills. If the churches in our community stepped up to the plate by creating addiction recovery programs, faith-based counseling services, housing assistant, inmate reentry programs, or mentoring programs, would you or could you, as a judge, consider partnering with these organizations to help people reform that desire change in their life? Ted, we'll start with you.
Most definitely. I would want to work with any public service agency. Most of them are faith-based. There's a few that are not. In reestablishing a homeless court, perhaps a court for or programs for youthful offenders who might be going down the wrong way and may not be getting what they need from home. And I'm not saying that a municipal court can be the end-all cure-all for parents not instilling values in their children. It certainly can't hurt. And I would want to meet with all of the faith-based organizations and other public service agencies to find out a program that we can put together for, the homeless, to veterans, to youthful offenders, and to the normal person. the person who's fallen on bad luck but's not homeless, but is one step away from it. And if we can find that out, and if we can change just 10 or 15 people's lives a year, to me it's worth it. And I certainly hope we'd be able to, through these programs that hopefully will exist, which is something that I'm looking forward to, can change more than 10 or so lives a year for the better.
Thank you. Terry?
I think that it's very important that we have good programs to refer people to who may be placed on probation. Maybe it's the young person for a small amount of illegal substance, and we can catch them early enough if we can get them to the right programs. Can't save everybody, but we sure can give it a try for everybody. I absolutely welcome all accredited programs. Of course, I can't say specifically any one program, but if they're accredited and can meet the criteria that by law they have to meet, then I'm all for it. To me, it doesn't matter if it's private or if it's faith-based or, I just want good programs to help our people be successful on probation. I want good programs to help people see what they can be and hope that they do much better, and that because they do better, we all do better.
Thank you. It's been said that the justice system is only as effective as the accountability it provides to those convicted of crimes. You've touched on this already, but by way of the question, are there reforms needed in our parole system and sentencing processes? If so, what can you as a municipal judge do to move things in the right direction? Ted, we'll start with you.
Definitely, as we both have already indicated, there are changes and improvements that I think can be made. We've been operating, basically the same way for quite some time now, and everything needs to be re-examined periodically. What worked in 1985 or 1995 or 2005 might not work in 2022, but yet again, it might, and so perhaps some of those programs that were discarded or fell out of favor need to be looked at in implementing things from the beginning to the end. I think as a judge, I need to listen to what the defendant in front of me has to say. If they're in front of me for an offense of driving while suspended, and their only source of income is, state support of whatever type it may be at that point in time, I'm not going to find that person very much, if any. I would rather they take their money and do what is necessary to try to get their license reinstated. We're better off with those people, with the support of some of the potential organizations that we spoke of just a little bit ago, of getting that person a valid operator's license again and have them driving lawfully with insurance, something that probably everybody in this room has or should have, and that get them back on the road as to where they should be. So those are the things that I think we should be doing, is looking at everything on a case-by-case basis, given the limited amount of time that we have with each defendant. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was once asked the question if I wanted to be the judge that everybody liked and that they thought was merciful and was known to give a lot of second chances, or did I want to be known as the hard judge, the tough judge? And it didn't take me but a couple of seconds of thinking to say, I don't want to be either one of those. I want to be a fair judge, and I want to do what's right. And so that's not, always being lenient, and it's not always giving them the max. That's not what justice is. For instance, if I were to charge, if I were to give a fine of $200 to someone of means, that might be their lunch money. It might not be much of a deterrent for them. If I were to give a $200 fine to someone of lesser means who maybe is working 2 jobs and has, some kids in school, that might be their meal money for a week for all of them. Or it might be their rent payment. And so it's not easy always knowing exactly what punishment is correct. I will say that I do believe in second chances, and I want all of our probationers to be successful. And I want help from the community, and I want help to make those people successful because that makes us all more successful. However, I am also very much aware of sometimes you have to get somebody's attention, and sometimes given second chances turn into third and fifth and sixth chances. And in those cases, I don't think that giving them probation is helping that defendant, if in fact they're guilty. It's not helping them any. It's not helping them at all, and it's hurting society. And it also depends on the crime. You can't say everything's the same. It's not the same. So as a judge, you have to first be fair and impartial and follow the rules and follow the law. And then, and only then, if you come to the conclusion that someone's guilty, then you consider the full range of punishment. And when considering the full range of punishment, you should consider the prior convictions of that person, certainly is one of the things. Many you should consider, as well as, are they employed? What are they doing in life? So there are many considerations. It's a little hard to answer.
Yeah, thank you. Ted, we'll start with you here. Have you ever been in a situation where a legal decision or position differed from your personal, political, or spiritual beliefs? How do you handle those kind of situations?
I have been in that position in the past. I represented a client who at the time was facing the death penalty, and I was in favor of it. But yet my representation of her was as zealous as it could be. My personal feelings were put aside for the betterment of my client. Ultimately, in that case, death penalty was waived, but nonetheless, my representation with my partner at the time's representation continued as zealously as we possibly could. There are other things that are not as severe as that, but that's the one that was the most dramatic for me, and fortunately, the death penalty was waived, and it wasn't ultimately an issue in the end. There are other things, but most of them don't end up in municipal court. Stealing is stealing. Speeding is speeding. Those things, for the most part, are black and white. Not maintaining your property, allowing a building to become in disrepair. They either are or they aren't, and those are things that I feel that people need to do unless they absolutely lack the means to do so. An older person, a disabled person with no family, and they don't really know their neighbors, you have to look at them differently despite the fact that they did break the law. So there will be a few minor things, but the big one jumped out at me early in my career.
Thank you. Terry?
I have been in that position many times in my career, and the couple things that you always remember is one, I as far as I know, was never pronounced queen of any land, so I don't get to make all the laws. And what I think is should be the law or shouldn't be the law is irrelevant, is that we're a free nation, a democratic nation that has a way that those laws are made, and people that elect people to make those laws. And nobody elected me to make those laws. I don't get to be the end say of what the laws are. And so I have to operate within the law. And I have sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Missouri. And when I give my word, that's what I have to do regardless. So my thoughts on things really don't matter. It's what the law says that matters. And in this case, it would be what the city council, state law would be. I will say that in addition to that, many of you, because I've met some of you before, know that part of my practice of the last 30-odd years has been criminal defense work. So I have been a criminal defense attorney for, hundreds of people or more. I don't know how many. I don't always agree with maybe my client's lifestyle or maybe what they did, but you know what I do agree with? I agree that everybody has the right to have their day in court and to have a fair hearing and to be represented, because that's how our country stays free, and defense attorneys are one part of the big clog that keeps this nation free. If you didn't have defense attorneys and you didn't have laws and people that went before court with a neutral fact finder, then we would have a police state and not the United States. That's how I do that.
Thank you. 30 seconds each. Terry, we'll start with you. Tell us why you're qualified for and worthy of this position and our vote come April 5th.
Thank you. I have over 30 years of experience, and I have been in courtrooms from federal court to municipal court, but I have been in municipal courts from Kansas City to Rockport and points out east. So in the last, 20 years, I have not just been relegated to St. Joseph. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. I've live here, and I see our community, and I am in the courtrooms all the time, and I know what's going well. I ran out of time fast, sorry. Thank you. I'd appreciate your vote.
Ted.
Thank you. I have unique experience in that, like Ms. Loudon, up until 2003, I represented a lot of people in municipal court, not only here, but all across Northwest Missouri. And now I work for the city, and I work with property maintenance inspectors, building development inspectors, animal control inspectors, to a lesser degree, the police department. And I have seen the efforts that they put in to try to make the community better. And I would want to take that time and their efforts to make the city better from the position of municipal judge. Thank you.
Let's thank our candidates.
Thank you. Thank all of you
Thank
for
you.
coming out.
We'll now invite our city council candidates from districts 1 and 4 and the at-large candidates to come take their place.
desks together. We put the 3 desks together.
Running a little ahead of schedule, so we'll have a little leeway. But this first question will be to all the candidates. We'll move from our left side to the right side. Because of the multiple candidates, if you need me to repeat the question, just feel free to ask me to do so. Madison, we'll start with you. In a recent survey done on votestjoe.com, 71% of people surveyed were either not optimistic or conflicted about the future of St. Joe. Many cited rising crime, addiction, and declining schools as reason for their outlook. As a resident, do you see legitimacy in some of these answers? And as a public servant, how would you revive a sense of St. Joe pride into the community?
Sure. Thank you for the question. You know, I think as a resident of St. Joseph and as a parent of 2 kids in St. Joseph, I think St. Joseph is on the verge of doing great things. You look at what we've been able to accomplish in the last 4 years, just as a community, there's good things coming. You know, whether it be the, Kansas City Chiefs choosing to relocate here for their extension of their training camp, whether it be things like the parks tax election that we had, the improvements that we were able to make there, and infrastructure in our community, things that were neglected for decades. We've been able to make some improvements in St. Joseph to tell people that St. Joseph is investing in itself, that St. Joseph chooses to be better, and that we can be better.
Thank you. Pat?
Don't start my time yet. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, because your church is doing something that when I was on the council 4 years ago, and I was on there 8 years, we didn't have things like this. We didn't go to churches and speak. You might go to a union meeting or a hall or something like that, but not churches. So you're to be commended. And then another thing you're doing that wasn't done in the past is the surveys. I didn't get mine, which I got 3 of them from different churches that was handed to me in my home. I didn't get them through the mail. So I know that some of you was part of that. So I thank you all for whatever part you played in either one of these. And I'm not going to sit here and promise you the moon or lie to you, okay? I think those of you that know me, and I'm looking out at some of you, you go to my church, I know you personally. But I really think that we've got to do a lot in our city to get it up to par. And one of those is, we all know, we've heard over and over how dirty the city is, and it is. And I would, if I'm elected, and I want to tell you something, there's 9 of us. This isn't anything that Pat Jones is going to do. It's what all of us, this is a we thing, not an I thing. So we all need to take into consideration how dirty this city is. And I would like to propose that 2 times a year now the city has a cleanup. I want to keep those. But from April to October, we need to have 3 dumpsters each. One in South End by the pool, one in North End by Krug Pool, one in Midtown. Oh, I'm sorry, out of town, out of time. Sorry.
Michael, you can just take that mic there, please. Thanks.
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. How would you work to create an environment, I'm sorry. As a resident, do you see legitimacy in some of the answers that people are not optimistic about the future of the city? And as a public servant, how would you revive a sense of St. Joe pride back into the community?
Well, first I have to wish my wife, Frida, happy anniversary. We're married 53 years tonight. And to answer the question, there are a lot of great things happening right now at the grassroots level, and they haven't worked their way up to the surface where people see them. We do have a lot of problems, and I think that's why we need to put people on the city council that understands those problems and have solutions. I think that the best thing we can do as city council members is not only to try to solve those problems, but to communicate to all the residents what we're doing and try to enlist their help, because we can't do it without all of you.
Thank you. Russell?
Yes, thanks for having us. I don't know how many people aren't optimistic. I am optimistic. I believe this city has great things facing us. We've done a lot, this council has. I believe we've got a lot more to do, but I am very optimistic about how much we can do. I am a little disappointed in the school district, that's true, many people are. Hopefully, something will change in that regard. But we have a few things we need to address in the city, that is true, and I hope to be a part of that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so St. Joe Pride, so we have a lot to really be proud of. St. Joe has a lot of history, but we've really let St. Joe down. We need to focus on our infrastructure, our beautification, our safety. People are scared to go out of their house at night to do things, so we have really need to be a group of council members that will look at protecting our community. I'm a business leader. I'm used to doing efforts as a teamwork, and so with inside my organization and outside my organization, I feel that if we all work together and have some cohesiveness, that we can make good things happen to St. Joe. So primarily, St. Joe's a great place. I love it. Born and raised here, raised my family here. There's a lot of good things to look forward to, but we need to make sure that our streets are safe and our infrastructure is tight, and we have good jobs available for folks to go to work and earn a living, to support their families, to bring new people to St. Joe, since we're losing so many.
Thank you. Brenda.
I feel that our city is, everybody's all concerned about a pride in St. Joe and so on. And there is pride in St. Joe. I think if you think of the things that we've been able to accomplish as a council, with your bridges and with your parks and your highways and streets and so on, I think it's important to know that there are already dates set aside for major cleanup dates in St. Joe, different parts of the city, and that is coming. There's a committee that's already working on that. So I think there is pride in St. Joe. I think it is just a positive state of mind. It's a good place to live. It's where I've decided to retire and live out my life, and I'm a St. Joe person. And I believe there's good pride in St. Joe, and I believe there's good people who feel good about St. Joe.
Thank you.
Can you rewind the question again, please?
Yes. 71% of people surveyed were not optimistic or conflicted about the future of St. Joe. As a resident, do you see legitimacy in these answers? And as a public servant, how would you revive a sense of St. Joe pride in our community?
Thank you. Obviously, I think there is legitimate concern. Those of us who have worked on the council the last 4 years, we've worked very hard. I know I represented District 2, which is the core of the city, so that's the oldest part of St. Joseph. So I see a lot of needs, things that need to happen, as far as taking care of property, trying to clean things up. We see people just not even caring, throwing trash out the window and so forth. I think that there's a lot that needs to be done and can be done. I've worked very hard the last 4 years to try and change things. I'll continue to work hard the next 4 years, but again, it takes everybody. And as far as I'll just say everybody has to participate. When people just throw things out the car and don't care, that's an attitude thing. So, as Brenda said, there's a committee that's working on that, and hopefully we'll make things better.
Thank you. Kent?
Thanks for having us. We appreciate this. Again, I'll say citizens of St. Joe are looking good. I see a few of you getting a little grayer than last time I was up here, but I've been here for 8 years. So I see the city making a lot of progress and stuff, but I also see a problem with our transparency with a lot of citizens that could use some help. It seems though as maybe our website, or we're not efficient on that, but there are funds and grants out there to help people with dilapidated buildings and bad real estate that they have. And there's funding out there also for like businesses who are dilapidated, where we actually can do some funding to improve these facades of these buildings, which enhances the appearance and the value of the neighborhood. But I think there's a lot of things out there that we've been doing, and there's a lot of things that are out there to offer, but we just need to make sure that you guys understand how to get to them and how to make advantage and take advantage of these grants and these funds.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us all out here tonight. St. Joe, there are some concerns, and that's one of the reasons why I stepped up to run for city council at large. We're at a crossroads right now in society, and I believe in my heart that we need to make some changes out there, in St. Joseph, Missouri, and across the country, in the states, everything. It's we the people, and it's not we the government. We need to take stand and make St. Joe a great place to live. I was born and raised here in St. Joe. It's a great community. There's great people. All you guys sitting out here are concerned, and I think a lot of these people up here sitting here have the concerns of you, and we will listen to what you guys have and take those concerns and make the best decisions out there for you.
Thank you.
Of course, everybody's thanked the organization here for having this get-together, but I'm excited and I'm so thankful for all of you here. I mean, that's what's making it, is all you here. I wish there were more. I wish we had several more opportunities to bring this forward. Thank your organization for doing it, but thank you, every single one of you, for coming. This is how we do it. And basically, I've worked in that venue of City Hall for quite some time, and just as an observer. And so, I'm for you. I've always been concerned about how we spend the tax dollars, and that's what I'm going to go to the City Council to do, is watch every dollar we spend. It's your money. And, I'm not afraid to ask the questions. Everybody knows that, regardless of your title or how much wealth you have. If you're spending my tax dollars, I'm going to ask you the tough question every single time.
Thank you. Thank you. This next question will be directed to the District 1 candidates. District 1 runs up against the riverfront and encompasses a significant portion of business district in downtown. How would you work to create an environment that encourages long-term economic growth in our city, new business development, and the rebuilding of declining areas within St. Joe? Madison?
I think it was 2011, voters approved the hotel motel tax extension that would basically be set towards riverfront development. When we first came in on the council, one of the main goals was to be able to put together some sort of plan for development about the riverfront. When you look at it, the area is largely consisted of either flood ground and places near the casino, or it's consisting of 229, which everybody knows the discussion around as far as 229. The main thing that we need to do is to try to build back neighborhoods better. We've looked at things like improving programs for neighborhoods, improving programs like we had done downtown as far as facade improvement programs, and expanding those programs in other areas, whether it be north side or south side or wherever it is in St. Joseph. That way, the successes that we did see downtown, that we can see expanded to other places in our city. I think one of the nice things would be is, if we've got businesses in areas and, you have neighborhoods that are stronger than what they were, people begin to have pride in St. Joseph. There's been talk about doing cleanups and those sort of things, and those things are all important, but it's all how it plays together with each other and how we can make St. Joseph better.
Thank you. Pat?
How many of you have been to Branson? I'll bet about everybody in this room. Do you realize that Branson, Missouri has its own RV park and the city runs it? And we have the best place in the world to have an RV park, and I don't mean right on the riverbank out there. Highland Avenue has property for sale for an RV park. But those of you that have big boats, we need to have a marina out at the river. And the guy that's sitting down at the end down here, we owe him a big applause. Him and his partner that runs Cruises, they're the guys that started the catfish tournament in St. Joe, Missouri. And the money that that event brings in here is unbelievable for food, shelter, gas. Think what they could do with the marina out there. And I thank them for bringing that event to City of St. Joe. And as far as infrastructure, don't get me started, because St. Joe has the worst, I think, in the city as far as infrastructure. And I just ask all of you if you have anything else, meet me outside. Thanks.
And I didn't specify these questions were 2 minutes, so if there's anything else you want to add, you may.
Do I? Thank you. I'll just use the theater on St. Joe Avenue, okay? It's been 4 years since I've been on the council. So 4 years ago, when I was on the council, I asked the owners of that business. At that time, Habitat for Humanity gave away paint, stuff to fix up your buildings, the front of them. Okay, they don't do that no more. But the owners of that theater, I asked, could you do something to get this spruced up a little bit? Look where it's at today, not a thing. Our former mayor wanted to buy that building, make a dinner theater. Went in it, the roof was caving in and everything else. He forgot it. And that's what's happened to a lot of our buildings. They're falling down around us and nothing's being done. And I'm sorry. I know the city just voted for the Historical Society to get more money. You're going to have to make a choice, folks. You, the voters, am I more interested in a beautiful historic building or a person's life? Because when we leave these unattended, somebody's going to lose their life.
Thank you. This next question is directed to our District 4 candidates. Michael, we'll start with you. These are 2 minutes each. Affordable and quality housing is an essential ingredient to community growth. While housing is fairly affordable in St. Joseph, the quality of housing includes a large quantity of older homes in declining neighborhoods and a lack of new construction or more modern housing. What ideas or solutions would you bring to the table to encourage new families and new businesses to move into the area?
One of the things that I was very fortunate in that I was asked to, along with city staff, to create a rental inspection program. The idea was to make rental properties safe for all renters and also to help clean up their properties. The second was really to get rid of slum landlords. Now, that program was put on hold. It's now back in effect, and we're making some wonderful progress. I think you're going to see over the next few years some great changes in neighborhoods, because nothing brings property down faster than bad rental houses. So I think you're going to see some great changes. One of the things that we need to be able to do to bring businesses into St. Joe is not only to clean up our city, and again, some wonderful things, I said this earlier, are happening at the grassroots level with several groups, including Beautify St. Joe, which I happen to be fortunate enough to be on the steering committee for that. But to be able to clean up our neighborhoods, to clean up our streets, you wouldn't bring someone into your home if it was dirty. You'd clean it up first. And I think that's what we need to do. That's where we need to concentrate. The very first thing is cleaning up neighborhoods and bringing pride back into those neighborhoods. Thank you.
We've allowed for development along Pear Street. That was just a couple years ago. The added addition south of Farron along Woodbine, that's new housing. So it's not like we turned a blind eye to new housing in this district. We have addressed it. There's more development to come, hopefully, along Ajax Road. And so those are the residential issues. But I'd like to further say that nothing really makes a piece of property look so bad as bad curbs, bad sidewalks, and bad alleyways. That's one of my pet peeves. I do want to deal with the alleyways especially. It's difficult to find the funding for that. I think that we have, hopefully, addressed it in the next budget year. We won't get all the alleyways fixed throughout the city, but we'll get to a few of them. There are some issues I know with a couple of blighted areas in District 4, but hopefully we'll be able to find some legislative action that will help us with that. I know that these individuals are paying their taxes, and so we just can't take their property, but they're kind of resistant on improving their property as well.
Thank you. This next question will be to the at-large candidates. You'll have 2 minutes each to answer. One of the things we notice on the poll of Vote St. Joe is there are many people concerned about the rising drug rates in our city. Without many options to send people to get them long-term help, would you be in favor of, or what do you feel about, having detox centers in our city, as well as partnerships with long-term addiction recovery options?
So I think the city needs to find a joint effort with other organizations to help with that. So the city needs to focus on what we need to do in order to control crime. So when we look at what we have right now, we're down 24 police officers on our force. They're not very happy. Our fire department's not very happy the way things are as well with what their supplies are. So I'm going to go back to being a team player. I believe in, we have to build a solid core strength before we can start developing other programs. So we have to bring everything back, and we have to fund and find police officers on our force in order to bring those numbers back up again. And also with our fire department as well. Those are the heartbeat of our town. And then we have to be able to hold people that are committing crimes accountable. So as we were speaking just a little bit ago with the municipal judges, so once we recognize that somebody has committed a crime, then they need to go through the proper process to be held accountable for that, whether it's probation, something that maybe is more community involved as well. But we have people that are repeating the same crime over and over again, and our police officers are to the point to where we can't respond to those now just because we're down those many officers, but we have to be able to hold those criminals that are committing repetitive crimes that are significant accountable for what they're doing. And so therefore, adding more core strength and cohesiveness to our community as a team is ultimately going to help that problem, most certain.
Thank you. Brenda?
Not only working with the police and so on, but I think we also need to partner with St. Joe Public Schools. I think they see what's going on at the schools with some students that are having problems too. So therefore educating it at the program early, but absolutely we need to partner with groups to take care of our issue. No matter what grade, how old they are, whatever, we need to be able to provide programs in a safe place and also for education, for testing. But I think it's important that we need to look to the schools and look to the youth groups and look to the churches and church youth programs and so on to at least educate. You know, if you have a friend in trouble, let somebody know. If you see something wrong, say something. If you have someone that they're concerned about, their household and what's going on, I think we need to partner with those programs so people can know who you could call if you've got a problem, if you've got an issue, if you've got someone in your family or someone within your youth group. I think it's important that we need to have a group to know that those programs and services are going to be there for them. It's something that's not going to go away, not at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a real problem in St. Joseph, as it is every place. And obviously, I think that if there's opportunities to have some sort of recovery addiction centers, that I think that would be a good thing. Partnering with those, I believe the city should do so. Enforcement, as Kenton said, you know, it is very key, and we do need to focus on that. You know, there's these problems begets other problems. You know, you see people panhandling on the streets, you see people sleeping in the parks and so forth. One thing begets another. So, you know, I believe in working to partner with folks that can help the people who want to be helped. Because if they don't want to be helped, we're not going to be able to help them. Help the people that want to be helped and make them more productive citizens. It's a good thing. I mean, we know that St. Colby Puckett Center, you know, as far as trying to get people help for, you know, this addictive drugs and that, wonderful, wonderful organization, and they're doing a tremendous job. And it's a benefit for our city. But we've got to do as much as we can to try and relinquish these problems. It's a nationwide problem. It's not just St. Joe. And the thing of it is, it's like a transom. You know, these people come and go, and sometimes it's hard to keep, you know, track of them. And it's pretty obvious, you know, we're talking about the judges here. You look in a paper, the number one thing is failure to appear. You know, these people go to court. They don't go back. Failure to appear, there's no accountability there. So I think there's a lot of things we need to do, but yes, I think that if we can get some help from some private groups, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Kent?
We, just like my colleague here just said, a lot of times the problem seems to be with the people. If they don't want any help, there's nothing we can do about it. We have Colby Puckett, we have Pivotal, we have a lot of programs that we are helping with and helping finance with drug addiction. Of course, you know, the YMCA, the YWCA, I mean, there's various entities that are doing something about it, and we are helping them financially with resolving some of the problems that we have with drug addiction. Again, so many of the problem people, I guess you'd say, don't want any help, and they basically, not until they're arrested or numerous times or something, or given a light sentence, do they get any kind of treatment whatsoever, other than the ones that actually walk in. But yeah, there's no way that anybody's not going to say anything that we definitely need to do something about it. And drug addiction is a problem, and it's a problem everywhere, not just in St. Joe. But we've not said no to anybody, and we've been financially helping a lot of Colby Puckett and some of these programs with exactly that situation.
Thank you. Jeff?
I kind of agree, I agree with a lot of everybody that's come on into the line here and getting a lot of good answers from the group here. As far as the support, we really need to support our law enforcement, and that would be the police and the sheriff department, the drug strike force team. They're all involved in that, and as a city council member, I would try to support them and give them the resources that they need to go out there and do their jobs and keep St. Joe safe. That is one of the biggest concerns with all you guys in the city and myself. I know growing up in this town, you could leave your doors unlocked, you could go run the streets, and now in today's society, we're faced with not being able to do that now. And the drugs are coming up from the border down there, and we need to shut our borders down. I know in St. Joe, Missouri, we can't do that, but you can talk to your legislative people in the states and force that, because Sheriff Pruitt had said that's where all that stuff's coming up from, the meth and the, I'm trying to think of the bad drug, but anyway, that's what we need as we the people to voice our people, or voice our opinions to everyone and make sure that we help that out. As city council, we're here to try to listen to you guys and take what you guys want, and we serve you guys, and so that's what I'm here to do. And but we just need to stop the drugs. The programs and everything, I think they're great tools, but we just really need to stop the drugs out there right now. It's became a big problem.
Thank you. Kenneth.
Yes, I just want to be very clear. I know as one vote and one member of the city council, and really actually one individual of this town, there's very little we can do other than being involved. I know basic premises are that recovery, not incarceration. It taxes both sides of our system. Recovery, not incarceration. Our high poverty rate plays a significant role in our drug problem in this town. We deal with it all the time over at the school district with 70% free and reduced lunch, and that's unprecedented levels of poverty that adds to our drug problem. So we're an old town. We're a town that declined by 4,500 people in the last 10 years. So the drug problem is one of the many issues. All I can do as your city councilman is to watch your taxpayer dollar, every penny of them, and make sure it's spent on programs that work and there have accountability to them, not throw money at a problem that goes into a hole or some bureaucrat's fingers. So that's all I can promise you, is that every dollar we spent on recovery of any type, I'll be counting it.
Thank you. This next question will go to all the candidates, and you'll have 1 minute to answer. Recently, the Lincoln, Nebraska City Council found themselves in hot water with their community regarding an ordinance that, according to its critics, included such broad language that would allow trans-identified biological men to use women's restrooms and locker rooms, and create fines against any group that expresses convictions that might offend the LGBTQ plus community. Are you in favor of such ordinances? And if so, how would you express your reasoning to parents who are concerned about the future of their daughter in women's sports, people who are concerned about their daughters being exposed to biological men in their restrooms, or people of faith who maintain a biblical conviction regarding the sanctity of human sexuality? I realize that's a small question, but Madison, we'll start with you.
No, absolutely not. I think first and foremost, we've got to get back to the basics in what we're doing as citizens, what we're doing as a community, what we're doing as neighborhoods. We've got to get back to how to empower each other, how to uplift people, rather than trying to find ways to divide ourselves. Those are issues that I think every person has hot button issues, and I think those are a large portion of them for families. If you look at what's happened in our communities, in our society, I would think that issues like that are so divisive that we don't get anything accomplished. I think that we've got to have a ability for parents to be comfortable in the fact if they send their young daughter into the restroom, that there's not going to be somebody else in there. I think those are things that we've got to uphold to our parents and to ourselves.
Thank you. Pat?
I want to ask you, who ever thought you'd see the day that somebody you knew had a baby and they can't write on there the birth certificate, male or female, boy or girl? That's how bad it's got. Never would I want an ordinance saying that a guy can go into the girls' restroom. Never, ever. So I want all this to go on record. As a Christian, I stand for certain things, and it's very plain in my Holy Bible what those certain things are.
Russell? You get a microphone?
Well, you know, it's really not a very easy. I wished I had the ordinance in front of me. I didn't know about it. My knee-jerk reaction is I don't care for boys going into girls' bathrooms, but if they've had the surgery and they're a girl, I think a lot of people think that they're actually still boys, when in fact they're not. So I'm a little bit concerned.
Hold comments, please.
I'm a little bit concerned about this is not something that a city council is likely to ever address. However, if it ever did come up, that's what they make locks for. They put locks on bathrooms, and I'm just fine with that.
Thank you. Michael?
As a conservative Christian, it's easy to answer this question, and that's absolutely not. Yeah, and I think most people feel the same way. And it is the city council's responsibility, because those ordinances can come up, and I think they will come up. And I can tell you personally, I'll fight against every one of them. Thank you.
Kenton?
I totally agree. Absolutely not. We cannot allow that. It's the wrong place, the wrong time. We have to concern about safety, and I think that's my biggest concern, is that we can't allow someone to enter into a women's restroom that's identifying as a woman but not, is a very dangerous situation, especially for our teenage children and so forth. So I would definitely stand behind that the full way through.
Okay. Brenda?
This is a difficult thing to answer, because I think that we're looking at a situation that I don't know if it will come to St. Joe eventually, and I think we're going to have to look at that. But I think right now, we're not equally equipped to be able to handle that. I think that it will get to the point that all restrooms, whether men or women restrooms, will all have locked doors. I think it'll get to the point that there won't be urinals. Everybody will go into a locked door. I think that there's a group of people that I think have an equal chance to be represented, and I think it's unfortunate because it's made everybody divisive on this topic. But I think that in due time, I think we're going to have to deal with it. I think we're going to have to deal with it statewide, nationwide, and so on. But right now, I don't think that we're there right yet to begin to make that choice.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Marty?
Thank you. Yeah, I can give a one-word answer, no. But since I've got a minute, I'll elaborate. I mean, you know, let's be frank, you know, we were born male or female, and I know there's a lot of discussion, but that's why we have men's restrooms and women's restrooms. Now, there is some places that put in gender-neutral restrooms, family restrooms, and that's fine. If they want to do that, that's their choice. But as far as the council getting involved with this, I would say no.
Thank you.
Yeah, I won't need a minute either. There's too much overreach going on around here. That's part of the problem with this country. It's a simple no. I'll give you more time so that we can maybe get some more questions.
Thanks.
Marty said it very well there. I agree with Marty wholeheartedly on that. Definitely no, and in the Bible it says male and female only. There's no other, so I agree wholeheartedly with Marty on that. So.
What about me, man?
You okay? And Kent.
Kenneth?
The way you are born is the way you are born. Next.
All right. The next question will be directed in, I believe we can do this in 30 seconds each, since there's several of you. When you think of the faith community in St. Joseph, as a city council, how can we improve in our partnership with the city and step up to the plate to the various needs that surround us, from all the way from poverty to crime to drug addiction and to broken families? In your opinion, what would you like to see the church do in partnership with the city, if anything? Madison?
I think one of the greatest things that I've most appreciated about being on council is that every council meeting is starting with a prayer from a pastor in this community. And those are churches that have bonded together and formed a ministerial alliance because those pastors believe in our community, and those pastors pray often monthly for how to improve St. Joseph. I think that's one of the things we've got to continue. When we look at how for the church to best benefit our community, be involved. Be involved at every single level of our community. The good people in our community are in churches. That is where we need you all, is in our government as well.
Thank you.
I don't know how many of you have ever been to Pivotal, but I can't stress what the churches in this city do. I know this church, my church, helps them. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but the people that are there, they receive no food stamps. Each church that helps Pivotal has a food ministry. You take food up to Pivotal and help them. They teach them how to cook, clean, pay bills, everything. I don't know how our churches can do anymore. And I thank each one that's involved in that.
Thank you. Michael?
Hey, I get a minute now. That's a great question, because I'm vice chair of the Salvation Army Board, and we know what churches can do for communities. We absolutely have to have them involved, from homeless problem to what we talked about earlier, which was drug and alcohol addiction. We have to have long-term programs, and that's where churches come involved. I think that the city needs to work towards giving the churches more power, giving them more options to helping out the community.
Russell?
Well, I do believe that churches certainly come into play as a partner with the local government. They help alleviate the homeless issue and the problems with the youth. And so I'm very much in favor of that, of churches playing a role in that area. I would support it and be glad to talk to anybody about it that has good ideas.
Thank you. Kenton?
As a leader, we need to be an advocate for our community, and I know that churches will do the same thing. Outreach, advocate for our community is really important, that we stay connected in any level that we can, at a professional level, on council, or in a church. If people know that we're here to help them make it through and make it maybe some right decisions, I think we're going to be a long ways ahead in the future. Just knowing that we do have a huge outreach of support in St. Joseph, and I'm going to be one of them.
Thank you. Brenda?
I applaud the churches for the work they did. Obviously, they all stepped up to help when they especially had the floods at the south side. Different groups set up, and they day or night helped them out, helped them build, got what they needed to get, furniture, bedding, clothes, whatever they needed. And I think it's important to always have that partnership and to be working with the churches. They're very strong in St. Joe.
Thank you. Marty?
Thank you. The faith, the church has always been part of my life. And anything that we can do to partner with churches, they want to help. They want to step forward. They want to be involved. And we need that. God, we need it more today than we've ever needed it. And so we can learn. We can learn from each other. And as Madison said, one of the most reassuring things is when we start that council session with a prayer. And I think that's very important. That speaks loudly, and I'm listening.
Thank you. Kent?
Yes, I think basically it's just, for churches to get involved. It's a shame that, as Brenda said, that it takes some kind of disaster or anything for people to get together and stand up under duress of something bad happening to a community. I think basically if there's an idea or an agenda or something that the church comes up with, if you show up on our meetings on Monday and just give us your project or what you think you can do, we're more than willing to help with anything, and we'll help any way we can at all times.
Jeff?
I think the churches are doing a very outstanding job in St. Joe, Missouri. I mean, with all the different programs that you guys do help out the community, it is all you guys that is part of the churches. And I appreciate you guys coming out here today and learning about the candidates. That's one big important thing, is voting for the right person in that job that's going to support and be your spokesperson for St. Joe, Missouri. And I commend you guys for that, and I think you guys are doing an outstanding job. Keep up the good work with the community involvement.
Thank you, Jeff. Kenneth?
I'm sure you're all aware, and I'm always very candid, that, us Christians we are a minority now, and we're still on the decline. But you know how it starts and how it changes? Is by having situations like this, by putting the church out front. We have a chance to make a difference. You have to be vocal. We have to be noisy, so to speak, because we, as Christians, are in the minority now and still on the decline. I would say that I've been at the same church for 48 years, Community Presbyterian up in North End. It's the last place I saw both my parents because we had the funerals there. And this past weekend, we had a good turnout. We had 16 of us there. And by the way, I'm the youngest one that goes. And that's saying something.
Thank you. One final question, and then I'd like to, because we are on schedule, I'd like to give you each 1 minute to make your closing statements, why you feel that you're the right person for the job of City Council. And if there are any other issues that we weren't able to cover in our questions that you wanted to speak on, you may have that minute to do so. But just by way of a quick answer, we asked the other candidates, everyone has a moral compass. Where do you derive your moral and ethical compass from? And how does that guide your decisions? Start with Madison.
I'm a Christian by heart. I go to church as well. And I don't think those things are exclusive. And I've also got a father who's in the Marine Corps for 12 years, and I know he'll kick my tail end if I do something wrong. So,
thank you.
Those of you that know me know I've been a member of Green Valley Baptist Church for over 40 years. Got to beat Kenny. And whether I win this election, if I do, it's God's will. If I lose, it's also God's will, because you know what? I'm going to be fine. I have a home with heat. I have food. I have my faith. I have family and friends around me. So I did this because I was asked to do it by family and friends. And I know that a lot of you think, man, why is she doing this again? Is she going crazy? No. I'm doing this because I was asked by several in our community. But I just want you to know I'm going to be okay no matter what, okay? And I appreciate all your prayers and your concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael.
One of the the huge problems in the world today is we've lost our moral compass. Mine comes from, obviously, God and from prayer. And I think the social and cultural issues that we have today just proves that that we have lost our moral compass. So the answer, again, is easy for me, and it comes from God.
Thank you. Russell.
Well, I was raised in a fairly Christian family. They instilled in me a sense of principles. Principles rate very high with me. I've had them in my life, most of my life. And that started at a very early age. And so for me, I would have to say the underlying foundation is my family and the principles that they put forth in me.
Thank you. Kenton.
Moral and ethics. So I founded my company almost 25 years ago, and the trust that has been gained in what I've done with only my own team and outside of my team, those are the number one standards in any type of a business, is moral and ethics. And I think I'm a really good display and a really good person to exhibit that on City Council, and to most people that might know me out here, that it's critical that we stand behind that, and not only with business, but with community and also with our family. So the top two, basically, to do any type of something that's worthwhile, you have to have that. Period.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brenda?
I'm a lot like Terry. I was born and raised on a farm in Indiana. And I think mine came from my father and my family, my grandfather. My father was an elder in the church, and we were God-fearing, church-going people. Later, when I was in college, I converted to Catholicism because I saw a chance and saw a difference in my beliefs. Went through the catechism and so on, so I'm a Catholic, and I believe in what's going on, but I many times think back to my father, and it would always be your talks with your father. I miss him because I like to have those conversations again, but pretty much you got your ideas of what's right and wrong from my father and from the family.
Thank you. Marty?
Yeah, family, faith, and friends. I mean, that derived my moral compass. I was lucky enough to grow up in an era where, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It truly was that way. If your neighbors told you not to do something, you didn't do it. Everybody had your well-being at heart. It didn't hurt also that I went to parochial grade school and we had nuns with belts that were this long. So that was a pretty good persuader. But definitely my family, my faith, my God.
My family and I have been members of Guadalupe since the doors opened out there. I talk to the big guy all the time. My decisions basically, on the second part, go with the majority of what the city wants and what citizens want. So faith guides me, but majority of the city and the citizens and what they prefer makes my decision.
Thank you. Jeff?
As far as mine would be, I'm a very conservative leader. I have a lot of integrity and trust, and I want to bring transparency back to the city. I believe that's been lost throughout the years, and I own a business there, and I had one person come up to me and say, "Hey, Jeff, you need to run for city council. If people can trust you with their vehicles, they can trust you with the city." And that's just bottom line, common sense and taking care of our community. People call me on the phone and want their work done on their vehicle, and they're trusting me over the phone to tell them exactly what's wrong with it. They're not there. They don't know what's going on with their vehicle, but they trust me, and they come into our shop. And if you can, I'm not trying to promote Cruzy's Auto Center, but look on our reviews online and look at the people that trust Cruzy's Auto Center. So come out and vote for me.
Jeff?
is this our last question?
Yes, it will be, now that I look at the time, yes.
Okay. Would you repeat the question? I mean, it gets somewhat distorted by time. Never mind.
I can't
I'll just
remember the
have-
question.
No, since I know what the last.
Morals and decisions.
Where do you derive your moral compass and your moral values from?
From life. So, again, I want to go back to thanking you all. That's why I went on the council, to work for you all and every dime you send to us to spend. It's a little bit easier in my church. Like I said, last week we had 16. I've done a head count in here about 4 times now. I think we broke 230. That is an unbelievable statement for us people who are concerned in this town. I do want to briefly touch on 3 issues that we need to talk more about after this meeting tonight, but you need to be paying attention to. One is the I-229 issue. The other one is our sewer and our sewer bills. And the other one is I want to look immediately at changing the priorities on this $50 million parks tax we just changed or just voted in. And instead of putting clear out in 2027, the East Side Park, it should be the #1 issue right now. The East Side Park should be started now in that first $50 million, so 25 years down the road, the east side of town, which pays most and a lot of high taxes, we have something that rivals on the east side, Krug Park and Hyde Park for the next 100 years. Thanks.
Thank you. I got to be fair here. So let's give each one of you just 1 moment to share any other final thoughts you have, since Kenneth was able to share his thoughts. And let's just go back this way. Jeff, any final thoughts and why we should vote you into council?
Well, I kind of did it right there at the end anyway, but I just think that it's great that you guys did come out here and take your evening up and show us that your vote does count, and we appreciate that. I appreciate all the council people and everybody. If you think about it, there's 70,000 people in this town, and 29 of us stood up to run for an office. And again, I commend all those people for doing that, and I appreciate your guys' vote. Go out there and vote for the person that you think is going to represent you well in St. Joe, so that we are serving the people here. We serve you guys.
Thank you. Kent?
Wow. I've been here for 2 terms. I can remember 8 years ago going downtown and pulling weeds in the sidewalks down there because it was before Trails West. Yeah. And I wanted to show our city up as much as possible. So I went down there with a handful of people in a pickup truck, and we started pulling weeds in the sidewalks. 8 years later, pretty much look what St. Joe downtown looks like now. There's a few vacant buildings down there, but it's definitely prospering. I've also got my hands dirty in helping rebuild the fountain in the back of City Hall. I'm a blue-collar guy. I do what the majority of the people want, and that's what I base everything off of. Nobody loves this town any more than I do. I promise you that, and I'll do whatever I can possibly do by what you guys want.
Thank you. Marty?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and to speak to all of you. It's been an honor to serve the last 4 years on the city council. And I've worked very, very hard trying to accomplish a lot of things. Ultimately, we're one of 9. But my pledge is that I will continue to work very, very hard. Nobody will work harder for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda?
Again, thank everyone for coming out. It's nice to look out and see some faces that I know. Decided to run for re-election again because I think there's still some things that we need to continue doing. I think it's important that we invest in people meaning that crime, education, homeless. I think it's important that we need to create a better place of where we live, how St. Joseph works, keep it clean, get the pride back in St. Joe. And I think it's important for the growth and prosperity. We are losing businesses, but I think also we want to keep the businesses that we have. Small businesses are very important, as well as large businesses coming here. And I think it's important to continue with the growth and prosperity of St. Joe. And I appreciate your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Kenton.
I too appreciate the opportunity to come out here to speak to all you people. So St. Joe means a lot to me. I love St. Joe, born and raised here. My family have very strong roots in St. Joseph. I've seen St. Joseph start to go downhill from where it was, and I decided to step up to the plate and make St. Joseph a better place to be. So we have to focus on, number one, like I've said before, our infrastructure. We need to build a strong core to be able to reach out to do other things that we're trying to do currently. We also need to have a strong relationship with businesses to bring business to St. Joe so our people of St. Joseph can work and have their family here and support them well. So we have a lot of work to do, and I hope you vote for me. And I guarantee as well, I will always stand up for St. Joe and go to bat for you.
Thank you, Kenton. Russell.
Once again, thank you for having us. It's been said that the measure of any community is how well we treat our old, how well we treat our young, and the handicapped. But I'd like to include all the demographics. It shouldn't be just 3. It should be all of us. And I particularly like people I care about people that care about others. And that is one of the reasons I ran for council 4 years ago, is I care about this community. I want to see it improve, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Michael.
I think all of you know we're at a crossroads in so many different areas in our city. And I think we need to elect people to the city council that have leadership, critical thinking, and team building skills. I believe I can bring all of those to the council, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Pat.
I don't know how many of you out here was on the last CIP. Could you raise your hand if you was? Okay, it was brought up at the last CIP that we widen Cook Road. That was in the original plans when Black Snake Creek come up. So I'd like to have Cook Road widened, but not from St. Joe Avenue over to Miller Road, because there's been so many accidents at that intersection. In 1 week, there was 4 accidents there. We went to the traffic commission, we've done everything we can do. And one of the guys at City Yards said, Pat, we can't do anything. We can't put any signage up or anything there because it's gonna have to be flattened from Orchard Road down before they can do anything. So we definitely need to look into the original plans of widening Cook Road. I want all of you to know, I was raised by the golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. Those of you, and I'm looking back at one of the ladies that's been to the council meetings, that isn't done so much today. You can't bring people down when they're being televised, audio recorded, in front of everybody in the country. You got to treat people like they're human beings. If elected, I would love to have concerts every Sunday in Krug Park again, weather permitting, no alcohol, and I definitely want the fishing derby brought back into Krug Park.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Madison.
Again, like everybody said, thanks for coming. Thanks for having this event. It's big for St. Joseph that we can have these conversations. You know, it was easy to see in 2018 the areas where past leadership failed us as a community. You look at our infrastructure in our community, you look at places like our parks that we knew as pastimes for everybody in this community. You would go, the bathrooms would be locked up. You couldn't use the stage at Krug Park because there wasn't any power. You look around our community and, you know, whether it be community appearance issues or whether it be our police and firefighters not being paid, but they were promised that they could be paid as far as their pay scale. And those are all things that we were able to confront those challenges head on and find out what solutions we can enact to get those things addressed. We look at our community as a council and try to make the best decision for the city of St. Joseph for the long term. Vote for me, Madison Davis.
Thank you, Madison. And let's give a round of applause to all our candidates. Thank you for coming. And for our final segment tonight, we're going to invite our mayoral candidates up. We have John Josendale and Gary Wilkinson. Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to ask you a couple questions that we asked our other council members to start off. And John, we'll start with you first. In a recent survey done on votestjoe.com, 71% of St. Joseph residents were either not optimistic or conflicted about the future of the city. Many cited rising crime, addiction, and declining schools as reasons for their outlook. As a public servant, do you see legitimacy in some of these answers, and how would you use your leadership to revive a sense of St. Joe pride into our community?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. In response to the question, I believe that in the conversations that I've had with the people to date, people do feel that we have issues. Crime is an issue, infrastructure is an issue, the schools are an issue, all things we talk about. Part of the problem that we've had in the past and part of the problem that we currently face in St. Joseph and in the community is whether or not we can resolve those overnight. We start with the fact that we have to communicate. We have a group of 9 people that sit on the council. They have to work in conjunction with each other, and they have to hear what the people have to say. Crime is the number one issue. We have to work with the police department. We have to work with the citizens. We have to make people feel safe again. One of the issues is people don't feel safe. They don't feel they're being heard. They don't feel they're being responded to, and I think that's an issue. When we look at the school, part of the job of the council and the mayor specifically is to work behind the scenes, to work with people, to work with different organizations to improve the direction that we as a city go. It's not just being the glad hand, being the congratulations. It's putting the effort in to solve the crime issue, to solve the infrastructure, and again, make City Hall make it easy to work with. Stop the red tape.
Thank you, John. Gary.
I too would like to thank the people responsible for putting this forum on. I'm glad you've got some comfortable seats out there. You've been sitting there for a while. As John and I sit out there, there's probably not too many things that haven't been said, but we'll do our best. I think when you talk about people who think that St. Joseph people are not optimistic about the future, by nature, I'm an optimistic person, so when I come into a situation, I think I can make it better. And I think we can make this thing better. But I changed that from I to we because it's going to take everybody working together to get the job done. We need to come together and identify the problems. What are the problems that people are so concerned about? As John was saying, crime is one of them. Our infrastructure is one of them. Community appearance is another one. All of these things come into play when we look at ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're doing some self-identification. What is it that we can do to make this city better? And I think we need to, the groups that are already in operation doing these types of things, they're doing a good job, but we need to get more everyday citizens involved. And then when we get everybody together, I think we can make some progress.
Thank you. Another question we've asked the others. Strong moral and ethical leadership is essential for the prosperity of a community. Where do you derive your moral convictions, and what is your baseline for determining what is right and what is wrong in your leadership? Gary, we'll start with you.
Well, my moral convictions come from my parents. My mom was a coal miner's daughter, and she didn't come from back east from the coal mines. She came from down near Joplin, Missouri, Girard, Kansas. They had coal mines down there. Her folks came up from Alabama at the turn of the century. And after the coal mines played out, her mom moved the family here to St. Joe, Missouri. And during World War II, she worked in a chicken processing plant, while my dad was in Boston loading ships as a truck driver. Then she became a domestic servant, sent 2 of my sisters to college. After that, she started her own business. My dad was born in Troy, Kansas. During the Depression, he came to St. Joseph, and he worked in the Civilian Conservation Corps. Some of you older ones will remember that. Sent money back home to his folks. After that, he became involved in community work, helping his neighborhood. At that time, they only had coal. He organized the neighborhood so that they can get gas in there. So all these values I got from them, and sometimes at the end of a switch or a belt, but I learned. And as time went on, I found that the values that they were teaching me became what I saw as important. So those were my core values.
Thank you. John.
This, as I heard the question asked earlier, I thought about it a lot. I'm really been very fortunate. I was born and raised here in St. Joe, but my father was a Sunday school teacher when we were young. My father also made it very clear that he wanted us to get a full exposure to different religions and different faiths, but with the core value and the core understanding of where that all starts. And it was an enlightening thing to have a really good friend when I was a kid, David Meyer, whose grandfather was Rabbi Meyer. So I got to see that religion. I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world and deal in different countries. Dealt a lot in the Middle East, so I've dealt with that issue. I've dealt with Asians and the religions there. So understanding that everybody thinks differently, but everybody believes in a superior being. And I've been very fortunate in the fact that, you know, they taught me how to learn. They taught me it was up to me to make the decision. No one forced that on me, and no one forces and should force anything on anyone else. We believe because there's the being there. We believe because it works. And that's where my basis comes from.
Great, thank you so much. Over the past 4 years, there has been a positive growing relationship between the faith community and the mayor's office. As mayor, would you be open to inviting prayer by local pastors at city council meetings and participating in events such as the Mayor's National Day of Prayer Breakfast and other events in that same vein? John?
Well, first, we already have prayer at council meetings. One of the things that I would comment on that is I believe in the community and working together in the community. As I said, we have a lot of different denominations. We have a lot of different feelings from people. So getting more people involved all the time is extremely important. Bringing that faith and bringing that feeling into the organization, whether it be in a council meeting, whether it be at a function that the city has, whatever. It is extremely important. I believe in that, and I would be very supportive of working with the different groups, different organizations. Someone earlier tonight brought up Pivotal Point, and I've also worked with Mid-City Excellence. So working with some of the different organizations and understanding that faith-based is a lot of all of that. Bringing those organizations, it's the city's responsibility to work with and support those type organizations. And it would be the mayor's job and the council's job to support those also and be part of that and actually encourage that.
Thank you. Gary?
Prayer is very important. Prayer changes things. Faith, the evidence of things not seen. I have no problem with involving people with faith in any endeavor that I would be involved with. Why should they be separated from any other organization that says that they can be beneficial and help solve the problem? So I don't think we need to separate people. Like it was said earlier, we need to start bringing people together. And I think if it's in the city, then we can do that also.
Thank you. This question comes from online. They wrote, "It seems that we have individuals on every street corner in town asking for money. As Christians, we are called to help the poor. However, handing them money may or may not be the best way to help them. To create policies or ordinances to prohibit this kind of practice while still being proactive to help people get back on their feet." Gary, we'll start with you.
If there are instances where people who are panhandling or whatever are causing safety issues, I think we need to address that, and that needs to be taken care of. As I said, the poor are going to be with us always. After we have taken care of the safety issues, I think we need to find ways that we can get to the root of these problems. These problems are being caused by something. We have various organizations that are commissioned to work with these people. They're getting funding to do that. Maybe we need to look at their effectiveness, bring them together, see what's working, what's not working in other cities, other places. I've talked with some people who were working with the homeless, and they said the biggest thing that's causing this is because many of these people they're having emotional problems. They need some professional counseling. What can we do to alleviate that problem? I think some of us can remember when the state health officials, mental health officials, put a lot of these people out, and they weren't caring for them. So now we've got these problems that are coming about, and many of the problems that we've got with drugs and crime and all that are caused by people's inability to face life as it is today. It's rough. It's rough for a lot of people. Some people don't have those coping skills. Some people didn't grow up in homes like I did, like you did, with loving and caring parents. And it's up to us to see if we can find a way to help them out.
Thank you. John?
That issue comes up quite often, the panhandlers on the street. There are problems in trying to solve that. We'd all like to solve it right away. I mean, you hear stories of some of the people that are actually in need and then some of the people that aren't. You see the situation where it becomes a traffic hazard and or could be not only hazardous for the people that are panhandling, but for the people on the street. Because you have a city and county and state road, they're all different roads, you have different requirements. And because of that, it's, again, working together with the city, state, and county to make sure that we do that where possible. State highways won't let you do some things. Some people call it Second Amendment rights. You can go on and on. The core issue comes back to, as Gary pointed out, and I think very well, you have other issues involved. Some of those people don't want help. Some of those people are out there because that's their way of life. That's the way they want to be. But yet they expect us to do that. The city has a responsibility to the entire community on how we do things and how we work together. I believe in working with the different organizations to try and handle that. I also I believe that working with whether it be the police department, the sheriff's department, whoever required to resolve the issues of whether or not it's legal for them to be there or not, because it's not the place to be, it's not safe for them, it's not safe for the other people driving, and it doesn't solve the problem. But we've got to start with the core issue, and we've got to start with the organizations that actually deal with that.
Great, thank you. Mayor McMurray helped establish the St. Joseph Human Rights Commission. On their Facebook page, 90% of all of the posts on the St. Joseph Human Rights Commission are dedicated to merely two groups, the largest percentage being dedicated to the LGBTQ plus community. There's an article posted on the page about banning conversion therapy. First, do you believe there is enough inequality in our community that this kind of commission is needed? And secondly, do you support prohibiting or ever banning Christian pastors or counselors from helping people seek biblical counseling to work through confusion they might be having about their sexuality? John, we'll start with you.
Easy answers. First of all, I believe in the counseling. I believe in the pastors being able to do that. I believe that that's an important role. But I believe that's also for the people to do. As far as the human rights issues, and I do not believe that there are a lot of human rights issues. I believe that we are all equal people. I've talked a lot about St. Joe, and whether it be St. Joe North, St. Joe South, I want it to be one St. Joe. And that's us all working together, and that's not anyone getting an advantage or anyone being taken advantage of. So we have to work as a community to understand, as some of the earlier council candidates talked about, you know, we've gotten too far off track. I mean, we are a people that we're supposed to work together and love one another, work together, try to help one another. And we've got too many people that want their side over the other side. And I'm all for listening. I'm all for trying to communicate and work together. But we have to move forward as one group, and we've got to do it in a positive manner.
Thank you, John. Gary.
Okay, you spoke of the Human Rights Commission. What was the other part of that question?
The Facebook page indicates a large portion of their issues are surrounding the LGBTQ community. And the question is, do you believe there is enough inequality in our community to justify that kind of commission? And secondly, would you support the prohibiting Christian pastors or counselors from helping people seek biblical counseling to work through confusion on their sexuality?
Well, we're getting into a lot for a city to be working on and concerned with. I think the basic services that the city provides for public safety and health, sanitation, infrastructure, all of these things we need to work on and get perfected. I guess there's time to work on these other things, but you ask about whether the Human Rights Commission is relevant. I could provide some situations where you talk about everybody is equal in human rights. Well, in theory, that's true, but in practice, it doesn't happen all the time. So I think, yes, there are some instances where a Human Rights Commission can address some problems that are real issues within the community. Now, what are these problems and what are the real issues? I guess it depends on who you are and where you're coming from. So that's something I think, and when you're talking about pastors and being able to, you're talking about the conversion therapy and all those things, those are some issues where I'm not sure. When you start with a certain age group, you can be very influential, and I don't think young people, second, third graders, are mature enough to handle some of those situations. So I don't think they should be receiving those things until they reach a level of maturity where they can be able to make good decisions.
Thank you. People run for political office for a variety of reasons. With 1 minute each, what drew you towards being involved in politics, and why have you decided to run for mayor of St. Joe? John?
I was born and raised here. When I was a kid, we had the opportunity to go out. We'd go out at sunrise. We'd come in at sundown. We had a lot of fun. I grew up and still know a lot of those people, and I've traveled all over the world and been able to meet and interact with a lot of people. My core came from St. Joe, and I believe in St. Joe. I've watched it. I've come back to St. Joe and been involved in different organizations within St. Joe. And we have the opportunity, we're at a crossroads, we have an opportunity to make a real difference. And I believe that I have the leadership, and I believe that my core feeling, my core being is about St. Joe. And you will, if you talk to me, you'll understand that I want to do what's best for all of us. And that's why I think I ran for mayor.
Thank you. Gary?
I was born and raised in St. Joseph, went to local schools, attended Missouri Western. Became in politics kind of indirectly. They were closing a school in my neighborhood, and a school which was only 20 years old. And I thought, that's not right. The schools are part of the foundation of neighborhoods as well as churches. So I went and tried to get that decision changed. It wasn't successful, but I thought I would stay and try to get some more done to make a difference. When there became an opportunity to work or to run for the Charter Commission, they were going to present a different charter for the city of St. Joseph. I ran for that office and was elected and helped write the current charter that's in effect right now. Later, I was elected to the city council. I was elected for 3 terms. Second term, I was appointed deputy mayor by the other council members, and I was able to make a difference, get some things changed. Was responsible for getting the EMTs, the emergency medical technicians, into effect. But those are the things that I think make a difference within a community. And then after my 3rd term, I went to University City, Missouri, and became superintendent of streets. I got to see it from a different perspective, working directly with people instead of setting policy. You learn a few things from that standpoint. So when I came back to St. Joseph and stayed with my mom, she was in failing health at that time. Later on, some people said, we liked what you did, we'd like to see you get back into politics, and so that's what I'm doing now.
Great. One separate question for each of you. John, you frequently use the phrase that you are a hand up, not a handout person. Can you explain what that means in practical policy and how you would use your leadership to inspire those who are within that handout mentality?
Yeah, it's actually very easy for me to explain, and a couple of examples that have been used tonight. If you look at, let's use Pivotal Point as an example. Pivotal Point is a hand-up organization. What that means is nothing's given for free. You have to earn your way, whether it be to learn how to run a budget, learn how to take care of yourself, set up a bank account, get a job. It's not hand you something and you get it for free. I'm not a believer that if you just hand something to someone that you can accomplish what you're trying to do in the long run. The problem being, if you give someone a fish, they'll eat it. It's one time. If you teach them to fish, then they can fish forever and present themselves. The hand-up idea is the idea that you work with people or organizations to make sure that they're holding people accountable, whether it's to do the job, to learn the process, but to make themselves a better person. To work with organizations that just hand out, you are just exacerbating the issue. You're making it worse. You're making it to where they're just going to continue to do that. If you look at St. Joe right now, we have a huge number of homeless. We have a huge number of people on the streets. Because St. Joe is known for giving out, handing out, people will bus people up here to do that. And when you have to earn it, it makes them more reluctant to just come and get give-outs where they have to earn it. And that's why I'm a hand-up person.
Right, thank you. Gary, when you take a comprehensive tour of St. Joe, which I have done multiple times since moving here, you see many signs of systemic poverty in various parts of the community, as well as broken families. As mayor, how could you use your leadership to help turn the tide for, I believe, what is it, 18% of people that live below the poverty level in St. Joseph?
Well, if 18% are below the poverty level, there's a reason for that. And I think we need to work with our industries so that we may be able to provide livable wages, but also you have to have people that are willing to work for a livable wage. So there's two things from that. And I think it comes down to attitude. I heard one of the earlier candidates say that we're an old town. Well, even an old town can get a new attitude. In fact, I think we owe it to our children. We talk about our schools and our school district, and the school district is suffering because of actions that happened in the past, and we're still holding them to that whatever happened then. At some point in time, we're going to have to get over that. We're going to have to come up with some feasible plans to improve our school district. And this is not just the school district, this is the whole city. If we can incorporate that attitude, and that comes with trust in leadership. I agree there were some problems that went on within that district that caused people to lose faith in that leadership. But now we, as I said before, you had 29 people that came up and volunteered to go through this process because they believe that they can do things better. And they believe that we can get St. Joseph back to where it used to be. I served on the commission that brought the All-America status to St. Joseph. This was in 1997. We went down to Kansas City, and we presented ourselves against other cities in the region. And we were chosen and given the designation as an All-America city because of the things that we had done at that time when we were on the council, and because we brought people together. I think we can do that again.
Thank you. For both of you, 1 minute each. We saw the COVID-19 pandemic divide a lot of communities. What would be your philosophy? We seem to be getting through this season, but there's no promise that another one might not be on its tails at some point in our future. What is your philosophy on how a local government should react to health crisis and the process through which the local government determines ordinances or policies that mandate certain things such as mask wearing or vaccines, considering a health crisis? And John, we'll start with you.
Okay. Interesting. As probably, and I got grief about this before the primary, but I'll use it again. As probably one of the most vaccinated people in St. Joe, it was by choice. I got the vaccine, I got a booster, I got COVID, then I had the COVID pill, and then I had an infusion. And fortunately enough, because I chose to do the vaccine and the booster, it was like a bad cold. So the point that I would make on the whole thing, it is an individual choice. It is not, I am not into mandates. I am not, I believe that everyone should get vaccinated because I think it's what's best for you, but it's not my choice, it's your choice. And I don't think it's the government's choice to do that to you. We live in a free society on purpose, and I think that that's the base that we have to judge everything on.
Thank you. Gary? Same question.
Yeah, at the time this issue came up, it hit so heavily and so powerfully. This was something that just kind of came out of the blue, and at least we weren't aware of it, and it just, boom, it hit. So I think the precautions that were taken at that time with the mandates for mask wearing, I think I don't have a problem with those. It was something that was not invasive. You're not injecting anything into your body. As a matter of fact, I resisted getting vaccinated for more than a year. And basically it was because I wasn't comfortable with the technology that as it developed as a synthetic vaccine. So finally, I found a place that gave the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was developed similarly to the old polio vaccines that everyone took from killed viruses. and I took the vaccine. So I think we need to look at those things when we're coming up with solutions. And right now, at the level that we don't need any mandates right now.
Thank you. 1 minute each. What is the most pressing issue on your heart and on your mind if you were to be elected into office? What is the top priority as you look at the city? What speaks to you as the first thing that you would like to accomplish as mayor? We'll start with you, Gary.
First thing I would like to accomplish deals with infrastructure. The appearance of the city is very important. It helps with our recruitment of industry. It helps with recruitment of professional people, just everyday citizens that want to relocate and come to a city. If we look at our sidewalks, that is one of the curbs. It's terrible. It's unacceptable. I said before that I was a superintendent of streets in University City. In that city, the city took care of all the installation and maintenance of sidewalks and curbing. St. Joseph can do the same thing. I think it would make a tremendous impact. And there are ways to do that. There are funds for that. And you might think, well, this is not the way it's done. Actually, many cities do it this way. We have children that are going to school walking in the streets and on busy streets, busy thoroughfares. So I think the city needs to relook at that, rethink that, and take over installation of all sidewalks and curbs and work the alleys in there also.
Thank you. John?
For me, it's easy. It's crime. There are studies that have been done. There are polls that have been taken. People tell me that I'm wrong, that people in St. Joe feel safe. The people that evidently are filling out all those surveys are different ones than I am. Because the people I've talked to, crime and the issue of crime in St. Joe is the number one concern. Safety, the fact that we all live in a society now that is not safe. You've heard someone earlier tonight talk about 24 police officers. We have to work with the prosecutors. We have to work with the judges. We have to get the criminals off the street, and we have to make sure that they understand that it's unacceptable and it will not happen in our town. I think the other issue that's out there is that right now, if you have a burglary or something, you may or may not see a police officer. You may fill it out online. That's got to stop. We've got to have face-to-face contact. We've got to have people understand that we've got to fix the crime problem.
Great. Thank you. 30 seconds each, closing comments, any issues you'd like to just bring up to our attention, one final case for why we should earn your vote, why you should earn our vote for mayor on April 5th. John?
I'm running for mayor because I believe in St. Joe. We've heard a lot of different things tonight about pride. We've heard a lot of things about the community. St. Joe's my hometown, and I'll tell anybody and anywhere that I was born and raised in St. Joe, and I'll be proud of it. I believe that we've got to fix the crime. I believe we've got to fix the infrastructure, and I want to take the red tape and fix the problems in City Hall so that we as a community, whether it be the south end, the north end, Midtown, that we south end, the north end, all come together and we're one St. Joe. I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you, John. Gary?
I, too, am St. Joe proud, born and raised here, attended local schools. I believe we can be competitive with any cities within the area and within the whole state. And I'm asking you to join with me so we can put a team together and get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you to our candidates. And if I could ask you to stay for a moment. If any of our candidates that were here tonight are still here, if you're comfortable, we would just invite you to the stage and we'd like to pray for you before we end our evening tonight.
Dr.
And I don't know who's here, but if there's any other local pastors in our audience today, I would invite you to come and join us as we pray for the candidates. Just feel free to come up if you're here tonight.
I'd like you to add Dr. Trout, who's out there.
Yes, Andrew Trout from District 3 is here as well. He is running unopposed.
I think they're just going.
Why don't we go down there?
Yeah, let's go down there. Let's go down there. It's a great idea.
Don't jump off.
taking the ramp down, so. And the few of us who are gathered here tonight, we want you all to know that we appreciate your service. Our Bible commands us to pray for all those who are in authority over us and to offer all that we can in our Christian responsibility to serve our community. And we would all with one heart offer that to you and to our city. Church, if we can pray tonight. God, we thank you for the opportunity to be together. We thank you, Lord, for putting callings on our life to benefit the lives of other human beings that you put in our path, that you call us to steward and to serve. Lord, we thank you for these men and women who have answered the call. We pray that you would give them incredible wisdom and discernment for the hard and difficult and challenging days in which we live. There's no doubt that leadership today in our society and in our world requires courage, compassion, wisdom, and a foundation that is committed to the truth. Lord, we thank you and pray that you would, whoever you call to win these elections and serve us in these next 4 years, for all involved, we ask for your grace, for your favor, and for their hearts to be turned to you in a way that they seek you for guidance and instruction and wisdom, that they would not rely on their own strength or their own resources, but that they would find a supernatural resource in you. We pray for our city. We ask for your favor upon it, Lord, for this city to become an example even to the rest of our surrounding communities and even to Missouri and the United States of what a community looks like that is pursuing the good of its people. We pray this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Thank you all. You guys are dismissed. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening.